Let's talk about electing our president. It's pretty simple, right? People vote and we count the votes. We have a winner, right? Well, it's actually not quite that simple. Remember the Electoral College? I'm not sure I ever understood exactly how it worked until recently, and I'm not sure all Americans do. But our country is big and complicated, and it's so hard to explain. So I have an idea. Let's simplify it. How about we create an imaginary little country that has just a couple states, not 50, and is very similar to ours in that it elects the president exactly the same way. Let's call it Imagine Land. So, welcome to Imagine Land. Let's just take a marker and draw a line and say, this is the country we're going to talk about. Imagine Land has only 4 states instead of 50. And let's just name them State 1, State 2, State 3, and State 4, okay? Now, it's very little, but they elect their president just the way we do. They're going to have a popular vote, and then they're going to have an electoral college vote. So they have a total population of 5,100 for the whole country. So let's say the votes go sort of like this. The green state generally has, they have 1,200 people. And so the brown state has only 900 people, even though it's bigger. So it must be rural. It probably has a lot of farms and ranches. Now that little purple state has 1,600 people. And that tiny little black state must be a big metropolis because it also has 1,600 people. And here's the amazing news. When they vote for president, 75% of the citizens vote. So it pretty much goes like this. About 750 votes in the green state, about 675 in the brown state, 1,200 in the purple state, and even in that little black state, 1,200 votes. But remember, they use an electoral college just like the United States, so they have to have electors. So let's remind ourselves how electors are chosen. Each one of these states has 2 senators, and so they get 2 electors to represent those 2 senators. But their House of Representatives people represent how many they have in their population, so that varies. So you see 10 for the green state, 9 for the brown, etc., etc. So the green state is going to get 12 total electoral votes. The brown state gets 11. The purple and black states both get 18, even though they're a lot smaller. So the total number of electoral votes possible for a presidential candidate in Imagine Land equals 59. Now you have to have 1 more than half to win. So if you divide 59 in half and 1 more, you have to have at least 30 votes to win, right? Okay, so let's see what happens. They have a presidential election and 3,825 votes are cast for president. And so they announce the results. 75% of the citizens have voted. And the popular vote results are like this. Susan got 1,925 votes. Joseph got 1,900. So I guess Susan will be the president. She's the winner, right? But wait, the electoral votes have to be counted. And remember, each state can decide how to do this. So before we look at the electoral votes, let's just see how the popular vote actually played out. So in the green state, Joseph got 700 states. Susan only got 51. Joseph won that state for sure. In the brown state, Susan got 650. Joseph only got 25. Susan definitely won that state. Look how close the purple state was. Joseph got 2 more votes than Susan out of a total of 1,200. So I guess we'll say Joseph won that state. The black state was also kind of close, but Susan got 49 more votes than Joseph out of 1,200. So we'll say she won that state. So when you add them all up, the popular vote came out like this. Susan had 1,925. Joseph had 1,900. So I guess you'd say the people elected Susan, right? But remember, the electoral votes are done the way the states decide. And these 4 states all use this thing called the state winner-take-all method, which means whoever gets the most votes in our state is going to get all our electoral votes. no matter how the rest of the country voted, no matter what the national popular vote was. So, how does it work? Well, we said Joseph won the green state, so he gets 12, and Susan won the brown state, so she gets 11. Joseph just squeaked by with 2 votes in the purple state, but he gets all 18. And Susan had 49 out of 1,200 more than Joseph, so for the black state, she gets 18. So this is how it comes out. Joseph gets 30 and Susan gets 29, and so the Electoral College has chosen Joseph, not Susan, for president. So the people chose Susan, but Joseph got more electoral votes, 30 to 29, so Joseph becomes president. And I ask you, was that the will of the people? Now, let's go back again to the real United States and talk about what happens in our actual country. You see, 48 of our 50 states, plus Washington, D.C., also use that state winner-take-all system, meaning that it doesn't matter how many votes somebody got in the popular vote nationally. Whoever got the most votes in our state, they're going to get all of our electoral votes. So what has happened? 5 times in our history, the loser has become the president, like Joseph just did. And in other cases, it's been very, very close. Why does this happen? Well, per the United States Constitution, each state decides how to run its own elections. Now, you might hear on the news lately somebody saying, we should nationalize the elections. States don't run it fairly. Well, I've got news for you. You can't change that unless you amend the Constitution. The Constitution gives the right to run elections to states. So they get to choose their electors, and they get to decide how to assign those electoral votes. In the end, the national popular vote really doesn't count for electing the president. Wow, is there any alternative? You know, it would be very hard to actually amend the United States Constitution. And we are the only democracy on the face of the earth that still uses an electoral college, but we can't get rid of it easily. What could be an alternative? Guess what? There is an alternative. It's a workaround. You don't have to get rid of the Electoral College. You can work around it. It's called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, NPVIC. And guess what? The effort has been underway for several years. This isn't new. 18 states have already signed on to this interstate compact. So just imagine this. States agree to give all their electoral votes to the candidate who wins the most popular votes nationally. Imagine. It can be done. All they have to do is sign the interstate compact and agree to vote for the national winner, not their own state winner. It would be the will of the people. So, as I said, 18 states have already signed the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. We now have 222 of the 270 votes needed to elect a president through the Electoral College. What if other states signed on to this interstate compact? What if our state signed on? An interstate compact is constitutionally legal. We have other interstate compacts. Constitutionally, states may agree among themselves to certain things, like the NPVIC. My state, Wisconsin, could contribute 10 votes. You know, we could elect the president and vice president according to the will of the people if we had enough states sign the NPV Interstate Compact. Imagine. National popular vote would really be national popular vote. So what do we need to do? We have already promised 222 of the 270 electoral votes needed to elect a president. We need 48 more electoral votes. And then all the votes would count. Now what can you do? You can contact your state legislators and say, I want my state to sign on to the NPVIC so that the president will be the one that the majority of Americans on a national basis have voted for. You can also visit the League of Women Voters website. Any League of Women Voters website will have this information. You can visit the NPVIC website for information. We can make all votes count. Do what you can to help with the NPVIC. And in the future, when we vote for president, it really will be the will of the people.